Hello and welcome back to AEF-TV. I'm joined now by Anvaripour, who's the former CEO of Africa50. Taz, give us a bit of an update about Africa50. We did an interview last year, so I suppose a continuation of the story on that.
Okay, sure. First of all, thank you very much for having me here today. Yes, we discussed about Africa50 last year during the Africa Energy Forum in Istanbul, and I was just about to start actually Africa50 at that time. If you remember, I mentioned that in such a short period of time, like 6 months, we passed through the internal process and we got the board approval from African Development Bank board members to establish Africa50, but as well as invest in Africa50, 100 million in the project development company, also 500 million, up to 500 million in the project finance company. We spent the last summer actually with a competition between different countries who's going to host Africa50. And after this very transparent competition, actually Morocco became the top country and to host Africa50. In September 2014, Africa50 was established as a private corporation in Morocco as a startup between Moroccan government and African Development Bank. And over the last 6-7 months, we work with all other African countries. And today, actually, I am proud to report that Africa50 is reaching its first capital increase, which will be between something $700 to $1 billion. And this is public side of the capital. And what we plan is actually use this capital and invest in a couple of projects and then start actually also fundraising with institutional investors to reach $3 billion.
Okay, so that sounds like a lot of progress in a short period of time. And are there sort of any sort of front-running projects and things like that you can point to during that time as well? Because it's a two-sided game. One is getting the money together, the other one is getting it deployed.
Actually, Africa50 team, they were actually working simultaneously on structuring, designing, fundraising, establishing, but also preparation of some projects. As you know that I am on my way to other plans in my life.
New opportunities.
New opportunities.
Yes.
And I'm sure my colleagues who will be taking over Africa50 from me, they will be immediately take those projects and then work on them and then deliver those projects. Because success of Africa50 will be depending on how quickly Africa50 can deliver its first 2 or 3 projects.
Exactly.
Yes.
It's about that execution side of things.
Yes.
And when we were talking a little bit off air as well, we're talking about, the speed to market, and it's been one of the narratives that, we heard last year, we're hearing this year as well, where, big, massive power projects take a long time, not just from an engineering perspective, but from a planning perspective as well. But we're also hearing the need for power now. Mm-hmm. So do you not think that there's a role for smaller, more distributed energy to kind of accelerate the availability of electricity?
I fully agree. I couldn't agree more. Actually, we all know that preparation of the large projects require extensive planning, as you said, but also structuring. Structuring takes quite a bit of time, and also the financing of the project. So therefore, while we are doing that, definitely there is an advantage of working on smaller size and scalable projects. For example, the governments can sign PPAs for 50 or 60 megawatts solar or wind projects in different phases, 10 megawatts or 20 megawatts each, because every 10 megawatt could be delivered in 6 to 8 months. As such, in 2 years' time or 3 years' time, you can reach 50 to 60 megawatt, 80 megawatt, or even 100 megawatt. So once you add them, actually you create scale.
And when you look at it like that, do you not also think that there is because one of the other things I find is that, when an industry grows up, it behaves in a normal way, and a lot of investors are geared up right from the beginning of their careers to behave in a way that facilitates and they recognize large power projects. They don't necessarily recognize or know how to deal with small power projects. They sometimes feel like the same amount of work, but the investment equation doesn't stack up, so I can't be bothered. So how do you solve that, what I call institutional inertia?
Actually, as I said earlier, the whole idea is to give them a larger size of PPA, so they can eventually scale up. Because we have to also take into account not just only providing and producing energy, but also the grid, how the grid is going to be able to take the large size of projects. So most of the countries in Africa, you have to invest also in the grid. It goes hand to hand. So what you could do is you could give investors 50 to 80 megawatt PPAs in different phases, 28 megawatts or 10 megawatt phases, and then people, they can see that the work they will be doing actually for 80 megawatt or 50 megawatt or 100 megawatt, but in different phases.
So this sounds very similar to, and these are my words, not yours, a spin on what Germany did with feed-in tariffs, but slightly more controlled, right? You say, right, I'm going to guarantee you that I will pay this amount of money for solar generated stuff, and you can then phase it in, but you've got a guaranteed offtake effectively.
Obviously, obviously, and also we all know that technology changes every day. Governments are worried that maybe the project is going to be much more cheaper tomorrow. That's why they can structure a step-down tariff. The first phases could be more expensive, latest phases could be more cheaper, but once you blend, actually you reflect the market. So I think we can look at from this perspective. And also the other thing is this creates actually appetite from different sizes of investors, large, small, or mini.
And when you look at some of these constructs where, you know, earlier on we had a number of interviews who are looking at getting funding for smaller projects, and what they're saying that actually we can pool these projects together so that you aren't looking at one project, but you're almost selling investment into a portfolio, a bit like you and I would buy stocks and shares or something like that.
No, actually I fully agree with this approach as well with my previous colleagues. We can create a platform of projects and we can invite different people to invest in. And in fact, as such, you make the larger size of a platform. Everyone can come and part of it, equity and also debt. And even it could be structured in a way, this pool of projects after a couple of years of operations could be sold to institutional investors.
And if we go a little bit back to Africa50, and you know, whenever you take on a project, you obviously, you know, you've done an incredible amount. But is there anything that you feel, with hindsight, that you should have maybe pushed a little bit harder? And do you have a few bits of advice to your successor?
No, actually, I think Africa50 was this very speedy delivery, and it's a brainchild of African Development Bank, and I think bank basically showed the market that can do business differently than as usual. I think it had to go with this speed. It was very important to convince the market. It is going to be a public-private partnership. It's going to provide different type of products because Africa50 is as a result of our experience and lessons learned in the market. It is an innovation. So today, Africa50 should immediately deliver its first 2 or 3 projects to give confidence to the market and build a first-class team, bringing best people from all over the world, not just only people from Africa, but all over the world. There are many Africans, they are working in different parts of the world and they are proven themselves. So we have to attract those people back to come to Africa. So then Africa50 can go to the institutional investors and scale its capital to 3 to 4 billion. And as you know, as we discussed last year, Africa50 targets single A rating. Once single A rating is reached, Africa50 can increase its capital in the capital markets through borrowing and then maybe scale up to all the way to 10 to 15 billion.
Absolutely, and those are great targets. And one thing I want to sort of press you on is how close are Africa50 to getting those first 2 or 3 projects announced or out there?
A lot of work is done, but today Africa50, the first priority is putting a very good team together, and second priority is delivering these projects. I am sure my colleagues are going to do this in due time. Excellent.
And one of the other things I'd like to, so let's bring it back to now. You're the outgoing CEO of Africa50. What next for you? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. I think one of the greatest decisions in my life was coming to Africa. And I consider myself lucky. Not only I was given chance of delivering many projects in infrastructure space in Africa, they are all PPPs or IPPs. And also, I think one of the biggest chance, I was given the job of designing and structuring and delivering Africa 50. I'm proud of myself. I brought it to this level. But now I would like to be more innovative. I always mention in every single occasion, project development, project development, project development. I know that my skill sets will be appreciated in that space, and I would like to work in project development area, but also I would like to create other innovative solutions to take those projects to the bankability and also make them interesting for the institutional investors. I'm thinking about how we can bridge the construction risk. I'm also thinking about how we can create first loss guarantees so we can introduce a different type of investors to the market. I will be working in these areas.
And are you also looking at the smaller scale side of things? Because you're using words like innovation and disruption and things like that.
Everywhere.
You can do more at a smaller level than sometimes at a bigger thing.
Everywhere. I will be working across the platform, small size, medium size or large size projects. And I'm not going to do only private, but I would like to also still maintain my public work. And I will be working with number of governments and number of platforms in the continent. Definitely I will be still providing game-changing solutions to the market. I think Africa is very important for me.
Well, do keep us updated. Let us know what happens and what the next steps are, and hopefully you'll sit here next year and you can tell us all about it. And it's gone as fantastically fast as Africa50 has. So.
Well, last year I promise you, next year when we see each other, we will have Africa50 already on the plate. And now I promise you again, I think I will be able to report game changer projects next year as well.
Fine, excellent. I look forward to that. Thank you again for taking the time.
Thank you.
And thank you as well for watching.
Thank you.
Whoop.